Hello and welcome to my channel, Kromos here. Today I am bringing you the Necrotic Touch Sorcerer, an evil caster that focuses on necrotic and cold damage to battle his enemies. If you want to play as a tanky sorcerer with powerful close combat magic, this build is for you. This is a build centered around the inflict wounds spell. This is a level 1 spell that deals necrotic damage at melee range with a successful attack roll. It is usually available for clerics at level 1. Since we want to cast it using charisma, the alternative is to obtain it as a level 3 Oathbreaker paladin. This is a spell that scales really well when we upcast it, plus it is rare for enemies to be resistant to necrotic damage. To make the build a little bit more thematic, we will roll as a draconic sorcerer focused on cold magic. Since this is a caster build, I decided to start as a sorcerer and progress up until level 5. It is probably viable too to start as a paladin if you want to be more melee focused. The fun part is when we use twinned metamagic together with this spell to inflict massive damage to nearby enemies. We can also cast it up to 9 meters away using metamagic distance spell. So for the early game we will use mostly Ice Knife to deal damage from a distance. Once we reach level 6, we will multiclass 4 levels into Oathbreaker Paladin to access a second feat and the spell. You may choose 3 Paladin levels if you want to skip the feat in exchange for level 5 spells. The rest of the build is finished as a sorcerer. Kindly read the description of this video to understand my thought process and some considerations for these guides. Also, click the button down below to support my content. Without delay, let's begin. Our journey begins as a sorcerer. We choose our cantrips. We are going to choose Ray of Frost since it fits with the build, and Chromatic Orb and Sleep since are strong spells in the early game. Subclass, we're going to go with Draconic Bloodline, and this will give us a +3 to our armor class. We will also get access to Armor of Agarthis, which is an excellent defensive spell. For our abilities, since we are a charisma caster, we are going to focus our points in charisma and constitution with a little bit of dexterity. You can also go wisdom 10 and charisma 17 if you want to take a half feat. At level 2 we will access to some metamagic. This is a signature passive from the sorcerer class that will allow us to modify some of the effects of the spells that we cast. Ice Knife is our spell choice, and then for the class passive we will go for distant spell and twinned spell. At level 3 we get access to level 2 spells. Keep in mind we have proficiency in constitution saving throws, so usually we will be good at spells that require concentration, so we can select Cloud of Daggers or Hold Person as well. We also get another metamagic that will be Quickened Spell. This will allow us to cast a spell as a bonus action by spending 3 metamagic. Make sure you also replace spells as you see fit. Here as a sorcerer is a little bit more sensitive since our spell selection is not great. Finally, for our first feat we will choose Ability Improvement Charisma to improve our spell casting. If you started the game with Charisma 17, you can also choose Actor or Performer. At level 5 we get our 3rd level spell, which is a very powerful power spike for our sorcerer. To fit the build I go with Fear, but you can go with Slow also. It's a very powerful spell that requires concentration. You can also go Haste or even Hypnotic Gaze. At this point you can take one more level in sorcerer for the elemental affinity or multiclass into the paladin to get access to the inflict wounds spell as soon as possible. Any subclass will do, as we will break the oath right away. As an Oathbreaker we will get Spiteful Suffering, which will work really great for us since we have a very high charisma. Since we are mainly a caster, for our fighting style we will choose defense. At Paladin level 3 we finally get access to Hellish Rebuke and Inflict Wounds. We will also get access to Control Undead and Dreadful Aspect. As for the Paladin spells, besides healing and perhaps bless, we don't care too much. As I said at the beginning, here you can stay as a Paladin level 3 if you don't want the 3rd feat. But for me, I prefer to take it, and I'm going to choose alert, since I believe it is very useful at this point. As a sorcerer level 6, now we will add our charisma to our damage with cold spells. We make our choice and we move forward. On the next level we get access to Ice Storm, which is the only ice based damage spell at this level, so that will be our choice. To close the build we choose our last level 4 spell. I'm going to choose Stone Skin, since we want to be close to the enemies to do our combo, and the final feat will be ability improvement, charisma. Before the combat I show you the items that I will utilize for this particular encounter. As usual, nothing really crazy, just trying to showcase the build and the skills. There are many better items you can find, and you should definitely be much stronger than this at character level 12. So to begin the combat we cast Armor of Agathis, and we make sure we have light spell on our main weapon. I could also start the combat with Stone Skin or Haste, but I decided not to. So as usual I need to bait the counter spell. I'll use a cheap spell, bonus action just to do so, and then I just proceed to go with the inflict wounds. I upcast it and I deal some decent damage, but not enough to finish him off. So actually this is gonna be a little bit complicated, and since I spent my bonus action, now I cannot cast a second spell, so I have to wait. So the dwarf will jump on me and try to massacre me, but unfortunately he fumbles and he gets some decent damage from the Armor of Agathis, a total of 22. I decide to save the rebuke because I fear the wizard will counterspell it again. So to finish off the mage, I have to yet spend another level 1 spell slot. I already started the combat with some of the spells missing, and I modify the inflict wounds spell with meta magic, so it has a range of 9 meters. This allows me to cast the spell without disadvantage while having people in melee, since it is not a range spell. Here I was frightened. I should have used a different spell than this, but I decided to risk it, and unfortunately I'm not able to kill the second soldier, nor the dwarf, so I'm in a little bit of trouble here. I decide to go with Shield of Faith by using a level 2 spell slot. And here it happens something a little bit hilarious. So he attacks me and I get goaded. So this means that I will focus my attack exclusively on the dwarf, and I do not have control of my character. So now the AI is deciding what to do, and they do something really crazy. They just cast a storm and hit everybody, even myself. Absolutely insanity. At this point the combat is almost over. Let me know what do you think of this build, if you like it. It's a bit more of a flavored build, it's not so competitive, let's say. But I thought it would be fun to try to make a build that is viable with the spell inflict wounds, since the damage can be very high, to be honest. If you made it till here, thank you very much for watching and see you in the next video. Adios!